Mark, thanks for joining us tonight. Wanted to ask you about WrestleMania 33 and if you thought that you would enter the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then what would that mean to you to win that?
Well, I mean, it was, going into the Battle Royal, my whole thought process is to go out there and do the best that I could do and entertain the way I have for the last 20 years. It's unfortunate that I won't be in the main event at WrestleMania, but I will be there, and I will make sure that I do the best that I can do to uplift the company as well as myself.
Great, thanks very much.
And next we'll move to Hiromi Takamatsu with WWE Japan.
Hello, Mark. I'm asking a question for Japanese media, Tokyo Sports and Gong. We know we know you won the World's Strongest Man competition, and we are wondering who would you take if we can fight any humankind in the world in WrestleMania? Who would you take?
If there was one person that I'd like to face right now, it would probably be Kevin Owens. Kevin has carved out a place for himself, and the things that are his strong points, I don't necessarily like. He's very selfish. He thinks that the sun rises and sets because he wakes up in the morning. And that's something that I've never really liked. We had issues before, and he came out on the top end of those deals that when we touched, and I feel like I owe him.
Thank you, Mark. We would love to see that match. And our next question is, what is your best WrestleMania moment?
Favorite WrestleMania moment? I guess my greatest competition was WrestleMania 22 versus the Undertaker. Didn't win, but it was one of those that I performed at the highest level to main event at WrestleMania as almost a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I've been blessed to be able to do it more than once. But WrestleMania 22.
Thank you, Mark.
Very welcome.
And next we'll move to David Dunn with NZPWI.
Hi, Mark. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the dates, but in 2013, you did a retirement speech that led to you ultimately attacking John Cena. I was just wondering, what was it like to be out there and to be experiencing so much emotion and so much gratitude, respect from the fans, and knowing all the while that it was all essentially a big ruse and that you weren't retiring?
Well, I pride myself on being an entertainer and an emotional entertainer, and I got my chance to prove it. It was fun for me to be able to hold the strings, as I call John Cena, the puppet. And I was able to make all the wrestling fans in the world, for one night, be my puppet.
And then changing tack slightly now, as someone who's been around WWE for such a long time and really been the backbone when you think of powerhouse-style wrestlers, you're the world's strongest man, obviously. What's your assessment of the modern-day wrestlers who embody maybe that similar style to you, guys like Rusev, Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, etc.? What's your assessment of these younger guys coming up the ranks?
Well, I don't know if you watched Raw last week, but Braun Strowman has my respect. He's as strong a guy as there has been in the business since my younger days. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do in the future, because eventually he's going to have to become as skilled as he is strong. And maybe he'll have a run like the Hall of Fame. And I think that he could.
All right, thank you.
And next we'll move on to Alex Wilson with Hill Knowlton Strategies.
Hi, Mark. A question for our media in China. In China, there's a huge amount of interest about the Big Show and Shaquille O'Neal match, with Shaquille O'Neal being a particularly big star over here. You've had many battles with Big Show in the past. What advice would you give Shaquille O'Neal ahead of this match?
The first thing I would tell Shaquille is to not try to match strength with Big Show, because as big and strong a guy as he is, he's nowhere near the physical match for a show. The second thing I would tell him is if he could use his lateral quickness and move and get behind Big Show, maybe he's because he's a couple inches taller, maybe he can get Big Show in a sleeper and have a chance of surprising him. Thirdly, he's going to have to be aggressive. He's going to have to be the aggressor. He's going to have to take it to show and not wait around and see if he'll play fair. Because I just have an idea that Show is not going to play fair.
Great. And one more question from us. WWE is very rapidly growing in China, and for some Chinese fans, this might be their first WrestleMania. What does appearing at WrestleMania mean for you as a performer?
You know what? I've always wanted to compete at the highest level, and I want everyone to see me perform. And that's all of the talent in the WWE are the same way. We want to perform for our fans all over the world, not just in America, but we want the fans to understand that we're working for them. And when they cheer, we work harder. And I've had some very, very good experiences in China wrestling in front of those people. And I would love to do it more and be over there from a business standpoint for the company. Coming to the World Trade Show in Shanghai, we had a show over there, and it was so energized, like the crowd was exactly what you want. And I hope that in the future we'll be able to have more shows over there for those fans, because I think they deserve it.
That's great. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And as a reminder, it's star one to ask your question. Next we'll move to Murray Elburn with Disability Sports Network.
Mark, we were at Dallas last year for the whole week across the Media Day and WrestleMania access into the Hall of Fame and obviously TakeOver and WrestleMania itself. Describe the week for us and tell us, what your typical week might be in Orlando this year. And then also about the Australian fans. Obviously I'm from Sydney and we're pretty passionate about this week and lots of us go there. Tell us about your experience with the Australian fans.
I came to Australia first time in 2003, and it was a beautiful, beautiful country. People were warm. I've had experiences with friends of mine that live in Australia that's been telling me for years, man, you should come over or come down under and enjoy what the country has to offer. One of my best friends in the world is the coach for the Adelaide 36ers, Jordan Wright. He's been coach of the year 5 or 6 times. I love Australia. I love the people. I love food. I love the culture. I love the many cultures. And being a Texan, we are barbecuers. So y'all know a little bit about putting something on the barbie down there. I love the food. The crowds that we had it was almost like we were on the pitch for a rugby game. It was such an unbelievable burst of noise whenever something happened that, it was almost like pyro. It would scare you almost. So the people really love the big stuff. Like if you do something big, you can count on an unbelievable reaction. We went to Christchurch, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide. So I've been all over the place, and I've never had a bad time.
That's good to hear. And what about WrestleMania week for you? What parts of WrestleMania week as a whole do you enjoy with the fan interaction?
You know what? Actually, all of the stuff dealing with kids, I tend to, spend most of my time WrestleMania week doing appearances and meet and greets and going from one place to the next. We went to Ronald McDonald House in Dallas and met with some really, really sick kids. And, to have a kid that has been in a bed for 2 or 3 months say, do you think they'll let me out of the hospital so I can go to WrestleMania and see you? Man, that just speaks volumes. And that's what Vince McMahon is doing behind the scenes that a lot of people are not paying attention to. They don't pay attention to the fact that, we do about 165 appearances a year for St. Jude's and the Boys and Girls Clubs and Make-A-Wish and Starlight Starbright, and the list goes on of organizations that we work with. Also, having our own anti-bullying campaign called Be a Star, where we talk about anti-bullying and how to deal with people that are bullying you. It's
you guys do a fantastic job. It's amazing what you guys do, and Disability Sports Network deals with and does a lot of that too. And so there's a lot of synergy between what you guys do and what we do. And so we really appreciate all the efforts. We had the New Day and Sasha Banks at a Disability Sports Festival in Sydney last year, and they were just amazing. So you guys do a fantastic job for the kids and people with disabilities. So thank you for all your efforts.
Well, thank you very much.
And next we'll move to Alan Aldworth with Spirit Radio.
Hey, Mark, how you doing, mate? I was just asking a couple of things. I saw you at WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans a few years back, and I couldn't help but notice after the Hall of Fame you're on a street by yourself, and I was too scared to approach you. Is that the normal kind of response you get?
I'm sorry, can you say that again? I couldn't.
Yeah, no problem, mate. WrestleMania weekend, I noticed you after the Hall of Fame. You're walking on, I think you're waiting for a taxi or something in New Orleans. And I wanted to go up and, say hello to you, but you kind of, look too intense and too tough to say hello to. Is that something that you normally get?
Not really. There must have been something going on. You must have looked like a shady character or something. I'm usually pretty approachable. Unless somebody tries to try me, which happens sometimes, then I tend to not be very friendly. But For the most part, I'm a pretty kind person, and I realize that I'm a celebrity, and it comes with it. I've never shunned people away from me. It's just one of those things. Sometimes it happened. Maybe I was having a bad moment or something. I'm not sure. But
no, I don't think it was anything like that. I think when someone looks as tough as you just kind of have. I don't know. Maybe I was just terrified.
Well, I try not to intimidate. I actually welcome conversation dealing with something that I love so much, and I find that our media, as well as our fans, who sometimes are one and the same, they just want to be able to come up and say thank you for the moments of entertainment that you've given them. So I would never shun that away.
No, I didn't think so. You're too cool for that, man. I love it. Also, just quickly as well, we're dealing with something in Australia at the moment. I don't know if in America you guys eat meat pies or sausage rolls or anything like that from like a petrol station or a roadhouse or something like that. But we're noticing people are starting to charge for tomato sauce or ketchup, as you guys would call it. Is that happening in America, or is it just here in Australia?
You know, they charge for ketchup, they charge for napkins, they charge for bags, like all kind of crazy stuff that, you never would have thought that you would go to a restaurant and they would say, would you like a bag? And you go, yeah. And they go, that would be 15 cents. And you go, what?
Wow.
I'm supposed to have a bag. So what are you talking about? And so... yeah, I think it's all over the world. I think once something starts one place, it kind of migrates around the world.
That's terrible. Well, thanks for your time, and hopefully we can free the sauce, man. I'm going to try and get this message out there. Now I've got your support as well.
Oh, yeah, you got me. I'm all for it.
And next we'll move to Murray Elborn with Disability Sports Network.
Mark,
Murray,
hey, g'day.
You're back.
If I get your, I'm back. You're too good. I need to ask more questions. Wanted to see about your views for NXT, and if there's been any talk about experienced wrestlers like yourself actually going back to NXT and working with I guess the up-and-coming wrestlers on their way up to be able to create some middle ground in that program. I know obviously you do a lot of work to assist those guys in the training center, but interested to see your thoughts about experienced wrestlers who've been around for a long time going back and actually working with NXT newcomers.
Well, I think it's great. I've been down there and worked with people, and not just me, but dozens of other guys. The hardest iron is forged in the hottest fire. So you have to put those young competitors against people that they're kind of out of their class with, so they can kind of know where to go. It's something that I think is going to continue in the future. I thought Bayley should have been in the WWE a long time ago, but I think that she was, kind of used as a conduit to make everybody else as good as she was, and it worked. You got Sasha Banks and Charlotte and Naomi, and the list goes on of girls, Emma, that have come along now and are doing unbelievable jobs.
And we interviewed Shinsuke Nakamura yesterday and got to speak to Shinsuke, who's pretty excited about going into SmackDown or Raw roster. But who would you like to face right now in NXT if you had an opportunity to wrestle anybody?
You know what, Nakamura is he's ready. He's ready for the big time. he's one that I feel like would be an interesting challenge, and I think that our fans would like to see a Mark Henry put him through the paces.
We'd love to see that match, mate. Thanks very much for your thoughts on that.
You're very welcome.
And as a reminder, it's *1 to ask a question. We'll take a follow-up from Hiromi Tokumaso with WWE Japan.
Hi, Mark. Speaking of Japanese talent, do you think we will see Japanese WWE champion one day?
Most definitely. I think we just talked about Nakamura is an unbelievably talented guy. He is such a different character that people want to see him more, and I think that he's not the only Japanese wrestler that can be that. I think it's just a matter of more Japanese wrestlers coming to America and conditioning the world to see their talent.
Thank you, Mark. And then you've been with WWE so many for a long time, and could you compare your first WrestleMania to WrestleMania now? Has it grown so much?
You know what? WrestleMania was WrestleMania from the first one. The second one was just as good, and third, and fourth, and fifth, and here we are now, 33 years later, and they stay in the same stratosphere. It's not like one WrestleMania is bigger than the other one. They're all really, really big. The arenas might be smaller or bigger, but that doesn't make WrestleMania, the size of the arena does not make WrestleMania bigger. It's the entity itself. And to be in it means that you made it. You arrived. That you are one of the best wrestling talent on earth. And it's an honor to be a part of that. And many wrestlers, like AJ Styles, he wrestled for 20 years, and his whole career was a success. But he didn't feel like his career was validated until he went to WrestleMania.
Great, thank you, Mark.
You're very welcome.
And there are no further questions at this time.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody.
I'm sorry, we do have one that just came in. Would you like to take that, a couple of them?
Yes.
Okay. Next we'll move to David Dunn with NZPWI.
Sorry, Mark, I thought I'd just jump back in again. I'm a big fan of your theme music by the 3-6 Mafia, Somebody's Gonna Get It. And I was just, obviously it's one of many theme songs you've had over the years in WWE. And I was wondering if, do you get to be involved in the process when it comes to picking things like your theme music, or perhaps who's involved in recording it, or is it just something that the creative team comes to you and says, hey, this is your theme song? What's the process like around that?
Well, I mean, you do have a creative process. I talked to the guys and kind of told them the story about how I became me as a young man in strongman and powerlifting and weightlifting and high school stuff and college stuff and from the Olympics, and how I felt about people trying me. When I came into wrestling, people said, oh, he's not a fighter. He's never fought anybody. I fought a lot. It's just that you never saw it on TV. I grew up in an environment where you had to fight to survive. And that's what my song talks about. My song talks about my journey from lifting to being in an environment where I have to survive, and somebody's going to get it. And, when I told Juicy J that, every time I go to the ring, somebody's going to get their wig split. He put that in the song. And so it's like I had input just from interacting and talking with the writers and producers and the rappers.
Right on. It's a very cool song. And then my second question here is, you obviously being with WWE for such a long time, you've been traveling around the country and around the world.
20 years.
20 years, wow, congratulations. Do you have any outrageous road stories that stand out? I know, for example, you used to travel with Owen Hart, and he's got a reputation as certainly one of the biggest practical jokers, it seems. Are there any outrageous stories you've got from your time on the road throughout the years?
Well, since you brought up Owen and the practical jokes, Owen got me involved in the practical jokes. We would call people in my family and play pranks on them. Before Punk, there was Owen Hart, and he called my mother and told her that that he was with the IRS, and that he was coming to take her house. No. And didn't quite go over very well because I had never heard my mother, who went to church 3 days a week, cuss before. And she cussed Owen out and told him, "Come get it, you son of a dog." And I just had to sit over there and laugh, and realizing that I had to stop her before she had a heart attack because she was heated. And Owen still is in the top with me of any wrestler that I've ever met. He was like a brother to me. He taught me a lot, and he was always there for me when I needed to know something or ask a question, and he never said no.
Cool. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer that.
Very well.
And next we'll hear from Alex Wilson with Hill Milton Strategies.
Hi, Mark. You spent a lot of time at the WWE Performance Center working with some of WWE's development trainees. What advice would you give to the recently signed Chinese talents that are now working down there so they could perhaps one day have a successful career like yourself?
I've watched them work, and I've been there, and they work as hard as anybody that's ever been there. If they can continue to work at the rate that they're working and have confidence that who they are on the inside is good enough, then they will be great. And I look forward to seeing what becomes of those talents.
Thank you, Mark.
Very well.
And next we'll move on to Stephen Adams with Live and Loud.
All right.
Hi, Mark. Hope you're well. Mark, I'm just...
How are you doing?
WrestleMania. Not too bad, thank you. WrestleMania started in 1985. We're now up to WrestleMania 33. This is just a sports phenomenon, a juggernaut. How far do you reckon this thing will go? What's the future of the WWE?
The business is growing, but WrestleMania will always be WrestleMania. Now, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, other pay-per-views, they can change. But I will always, at 60, 80 years old, I will expect WrestleMania to be the biggest spectacle in wrestling and sports entertainment. And I think that as a fan, not just as a talent, but as a fan, I look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future.
Thank you so much.
And there are no further questions.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Great question.